If you're a high-performing man and you want to take control of your lifestyle and health, not just lose the 20 to 50 pounds, but make it a predictable process so that you can stay lean, then you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to break down why you're currently stuck, why you're going in circles and always losing and regaining the same few pounds year after year, no matter what you try, no matter what you do. And we're actually going to give you the exact structure that my clients use to make this a very repeatable process. So not only can we continuously churn out incredible results like this, but we can make it a process that actually fits their lifestyle. So that clients like Jamie and other Jamie actually as well, directors who are traveling around for work, like Joe who likes to enjoy some food with his husband, so that we can work around social lives, careers, the most demanding constraints and lifestyles, and still get results on repeat because we make it a very predictable process. We help our clients understand the levers that they have at their disposal. We educate them through the process so that they know how to keep that progress coming forever and ever so that they can actually maintain their results. That is probably what you are missing now. You're missing a real education and knowledge of how, because we're not shy of information. Everyone knows what to do. If you look up on Google how to lose weight, how to lose a belly, how to gain muscle, you're going to see the same things. You're going to see calorie deficit this, eat less, move more, track your calories and macros, progressive overload in the gym, but no one actually tells you how to do it. No one breaks down how are you meant to eat less and move more. You don't have the tools, you don't have the education around the levers that you have at your disposal. So even if you do lose a little bit of weight, you always end up regaining it, especially if you're trying things like ozempic. This is the easiest example. You think that you've got this solution, but what happens after? You don't have those fundamental habits in place. And the key is, what are the easiest fundamental habits to put in place so don't have all that guesswork of tracking calories and macros. So it's not that you're lazy if you can't lose weight in the first place. It's because you don't actually have a system that's built for you. You don't have habits that you can seamlessly integrate into your lifestyle to get things done around those constraints. So ultimately, if you can't lose the weight, you can't stay in a calorie deficit consistently. So that's what we need to fix there. If you can't keep it off, then you never had a system in the first place. You managed to get into a calorie deficit consistently by doing something that kind of worked for a little bit, but you've learned nothing. So the truth is that it will take a little bit of time. And the truth is that when a client works with me, I want them to stay with me for 8 to 12 months. That is our sweet spot. It's a 4-month program initially. And by the end of that 4 months, they do often have enough to go continue forward on their own. But if I want to teach my client everything that I know so that they are set up for life, it's usually about an 8 to 12 month process. And spoiler alert, obviously I'm going to pitch. If you do want to work with me one-to-one, I will guide you through that process. I'll actually work with you every single week, reviewing your data and helping you implement real solutions that fit around you. But this is just a little bit of an idea of how we go through things. Firstly, who am I and why should you care? So I actually started out working in finance. I started out in the corporate life. That's where I ended up in pretty terrible shape. I took things to the extreme. I've been a bodybuilder. I've trained pro bodybuilders. And now I own a fitness business that helps dudes get in incredible shape. So I've worn every hat. This is the best of the best. I've done the degree. I've trained with the pros. I've done all the research. And this kind of methodology that I preach now is a very personalized and detailed thing on a client-by-client basis, but it revolves around problem solving and a real solution being made that fits specifically around you rather than just generic fitness advice. To this date, we have well over 100 success stories. A lot of my guys, as I said, have very, very demanding lifestyles. And what we're aiming to do is drop 20 to 40 pounds in 16 weeks to get rid of the belly, get you nice and lean, get you healthy again without adding more workload and without destroying your lifestyle. Through that process, educating you and then reversing out of that seamlessly so that you can maintain those results and you are actually well aware of how the process works so that you can keep making awesome progress. So firstly, when it comes to actually getting the fat off, that first phase where we have to dig a little bit, we got to make those sacrifices in the short term. Mapping it out is key. As I said, there is only one thing worse than dieting, and that is dieting for a year and not getting anywhere. So what exactly is the goal? How much weight do you need to lose to get to your goal look or to get to that healthy weight? How many weeks roughly do you want to pencil out to get there? This doesn't need to be perfect, but if you have an idea of how long you're going to set out, say you've got 10 kilos to take off, you've got 20 weeks to do it. you know that you're aiming for roughly half a kilo every single week. In this case, that would be about 500 calories. If you wanted to amp things up a little bit and shoot for the larger range, more like that 40 pounds, then we're looking at more like a 1,000 calorie deficit per day, okay? We have 3 variables that we can really utilize to facilitate that. Number 1 is our intake, and it's important that we understand these variables because especially if you do want some serious results, eating 1,000 calories less food is not a good play. The energy availability is going to be terrible. The nutrient composition of those foods is potentially going to be compromised. So you want to basically have the right configuration of these 3. Slightly bump up your steps, add in a little bit of cardio, slightly drop your food. Don't get comfortable is key, okay? That 10 kilos is realistically more like a minimum, okay? If you want to keep the fat off long term, what you want is effectively a lean enough physique so that even if you gain a couple of kilos back, because through a reverse dieting phase, when you start bumping up that food again, it's going to happen. You need to keep that structure in the reverse dieting phase. So don't get comfortable. Shoot for getting that little bit leaner. Understand that we want to dig a little bit more now. So lose more weight, make some more short-term sacrifices. The transition phase, the reverse dieting phase, is going to be a little bit more flexible. What you need is effectively, coming back to this idea of phase planning, you need to understand what the chapters look like in that journey. So chapter 1 is actually just get the weights off. Not making it a nightmare to do so, but we don't want to be dieting forever. Chapter 2, transition phase. This is where things get a little bit more flexible. I'll run you through an idea on how to do that in just a moment. But this is where not only are you looking to now maintain that composition, but the approach becomes a little bit more relaxed as well. So it makes it very easy to maintain. One of the biggest lies is that flexible dieting is done by tracking calories and macros, because odds are you probably don't want to track macros every single day for the rest of your life. So is it that sustainable compared to something like a meal plan? Definitely not. I'm going to show you what we do instead. So a little bit of an intro into what I believe is one of the easiest tools to drop body fat is what we call hybrid nutrition plans in our program. So naturally, most people fall into one of 2 camps. Meal plans, which is you eat this in this quantity at this time, or macros, where you've just got this daily target that you're aiming for. Now, these both are really subpar solutions because a meal plan requires you to be absolutely perfect. It requires you to have a Tupperware everywhere. It requires you to, it's just not fun, right? But macros, you don't know how many meals is best to split those into. You don't know how much protein and fats to have in which meals. You've just got that daily target and nothing else. So you don't learn anything once again. This makes that process much, much harder than it needs to be because it means that you might not be structuring your day of eating to manage your appetite. So you're always hungry and therefore craving things that are going to have you going off plan. It's a minefield to navigate just macros alone. So not only do we believe in targets and actually creating an example meal plan for our clients to get there based on their favorite foods that they want to see included, making it very low barrier. So if you have cornflakes for breakfast at the moment, you don't want to, try to find the time to cook up a bunch of eggs and bacon and this and that. Have it with some Greek yogurt. It's going to at least give you a little bit more protein. It's the little steps forward that will all start to add up and build on over time. Along with this, we create multiple options for each of those meals, and they are all going to have the same calorie and macro content. So my clients know that I can have this, or I can have that, or I can have that. Through the process, they then start to learn what the equivalents are of other foods. So that by the end, they basically don't even need to track. They know that they can have, this amount of chicken with this amount of pasta, or this amount of beef with that amount of potatoes, and they can basically kind of design their own meals on the go without having to track. It's incredible. And we'll also then go above and beyond that and problem solve extra. So do you have day shifts and night shifts? If you're a doctor, you work on the rails, and anything like that, railways, I should say. Any kind of problem solving that is typically stopping you from staying consistent is something that you want to solve for with those example meals. It leaves the least amount of guesswork, and it means that over time you're going to learn why it's structured in the way that it is. So it saves time, you don't have to track, it stays accurate without you needing to sacrifice the flexibility and eat the same thing for 5 meals a day every single day. So it just gives you the best of both worlds, basically. It's a really, really easy tool and way of going about things. And once again, The details are all personalized on a client by client basis. Ben wanted to have cereal in his meal plan for as long as possible. Dave wanted things really, really low barrier based around what he was eating at the moment. The details are what's really, really key. But in terms of how to then put that into practice, what you can do is you can create a little bit of a calorie target to build those meals up to. So a good example of this is going to be your lean body mass, an estimate of how much you'd weigh without fat, times 13 will give you a very rough starting point in terms of a relatively aggressive calorie target. Then for a protein intake, you can go with that same lean body mass in kilograms this time. Times it, both of these are in pounds, sorry. So lean body mass in pounds, times 13 for calories, times 1.2 will give you your protein target in grams. So if you're currently 180 pounds and you're doing 6,000 steps a day, going back to those levers, you might want to do times 13 equals 1950 calories and 180 grams of protein. 150 being a bit of an estimate that you've got, 30 pounds to lose. 9,000 steps, and that will already set you up okay. To begin with, go that little bit more aggressive, okay? You're going to be nice and motivated on that journey. You're going to have a little bit more body fat, so your body isn't giving up on you yet. It's not going to feel quite as tough. So start off a little bit faster and more aggressive. As you get leaner, this is when your body's going to fight you. So you want things to be able to actually slow down here instead of this big aggressive start. So try to lose, 2 to 3 pounds a week to begin with. That'd be awesome. Weigh yourself every day for the next week. If you're within that range, then cool, keep things going on that setup and you'll very quickly end up, steps closer to your goal. If you are a little bit below that, maybe you've only lost 1.5 pounds or something, 1 pound, then you can drop the calories by 200 to 300, or you can add in a little bit of cardio or anything to now start deepening that deficit a little bit. And once again, that comes back to that idea of that time frame, that timeline that you're working with so that you can make it predictable. And you know that by the end of 20 weeks, you're going to be at least 20 pounds down if you go at that rate. So now you've got the body fat off. How are we going to actually maintain those results? So firstly, we're going to execute a reverse diet. The first step of that is immediately jump back to your new maintenance. Now, the calories that you were maintaining on before, your new maintenance is going to be a little bit below that because you will probably lose a tiny bit of lean body mass, and your body is going to actually adapt to that intake by having a little bit less output. Your NEAT is going to decrease through your time in a deficit. Now, this means that you can be a little bit more conservative, but you do want to make that immediate kind of bigger rebound in your calories. If you are fatigued from your time in a deficit, the worst thing you can do is just add 100 calories, add 100 calories. No, first have an immediate jump back to maintenance. Then, based on your maintenance, based on if your body weight is maintaining, after an initial rebound, So after the initial rebound, you'll gain a bit of water weight when you bump those calories back up, right? But then you should see your body weight start to just very, very gradually increase or maintain. If you're maintaining, you can add another 100 calories and you can slowly bump that on up until you are officially in more of a gaining phase or bulk, whatever you want to call it. Then what I will often do with my clients to now work on that fear of missing out, certain foods that they might have given up a little bit more of more frequently during that dieting phase, is because we now have a little bit more of a margin, as long as you can keep structured, you might want to use similar meal plans. I will then use what I call a spare calories technique. That's part of our hybrid nutrition to effectively say okay, well, you will keep the meal plan the same for now. And to take us back up to maintenance, I'm now going to add, just a little bit to your meal plan. And then the other bit is just going to be a spare 200, 300 calories, what have you. So you can decide the only thing that you need to track for that day is, do I want a little bit of chocolate or do I want a little bit of ice cream? From that, you're going to start building up a little bit of a tolerance each day. You're going to see those, chocolates and ice creams as normal again. You're not going to binge. This helps keep things really, really relaxed and maintaining those goals. So that's a quick little breakdown of a fat loss phase, how to do it, how to execute a maintenance phase after, how you can relax a little bit and have some more meals out and things like that. There are loads and loads of other tools under our belt for navigating the fat loss phase, making that nice and smooth. But this is just a quick little rundown of how you can structure a fat loss phase through the summer, get into maintaining, and finally keep the weight off. If you want to work one-to-one, just drop me a message on Instagram saying the word lean. I hope you've enjoyed and taken something from this. I'll catch you guys soon.